So write that on your bell work packet. So that first box below your name box. All right, and all we're going to do here is just graph these. We're not going to do interval notation. We're just going to graph it on a number line. So this says x is greater than -3. Would I use an open or a closed circle for this one? Closed. So let's put a closed circle on the -3. And it's greater than, so it goes this direction. All right. The second one has a start and an end. This one starts at -5, but notice that that one is not equal to, so we're going to put an open circle at the -5. It ends at +2. We put a closed circle at the +2, and then you just connect. The last one is x is less than 4. We have an open circle on the 4. If it's less than, that means it goes to the left. All right, so now let's go to our notes. Make sure you have a calculator. If you don't have one on your desk, go ahead and grab one off a desk near you. This one right, oh, there. Where's all my calculators? Is there any calculators around here? I don't have enough calculators. Everybody got one? All right, so let's go to your note packet. Let's go to page 4. Page 4 in your blue packet. Page 4 in the blue packet. For my 2 new students, on the front page of your blue packet, at the bottom where it asks you for the test, go ahead and fill in that your first test is on August 20th. That's on the cover page. So go to the cover page of your blue packet. So August 20th is the first test, is at the bottom. And then the second one is on September 12th. So our first test is August 20th, so that's about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And then the second test is September 12th. So that blue packet is actually 2 whole tests together. That's why it's so thick. All right, so after you have that, now let's go back to our lesson. So let's talk about a parabola. So this is what your graph looks like when you have an exponent of 2. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out that's important about this graph. The first thing is, do you see this line that goes down the middle? That's actually like the mirror. Okay, if you could fold it, this would be the actual middle of the graph. And we call that the axis of symmetry. So that's the middle of our graph. That's what that is. All right, that middle point is important because it's going to tell us a lot of important things about it. One of the things it's going to tell us is what the x value of our vertex is. So that would be my vertex. So in order to find this axis of symmetry, this is our formula that we're going to use. And then after we find it, we're going to substitute it back into the equation to get y. Now, there is one thing that I also want to add. Whatever you see here for C, that is your y-intercept. So you might want to, if you don't have a highlighter, circle C. C and the y-intercept are the same thing. So we got some key definitions to do, and then we're going to graph one together, and that is it. And then before you leave, you're going to do number 1 in your homework. So let's talk about the 2 different types of parabolas you can have. The first one looks like a smile. When it looks like a smile, the minimum would be your lowest point. Now, this only happens when A is positive. So if A is positive, and it says it at the top, but I don't know if you can see it, but if A is positive, it's going to look like a smile. Now, your domain will never change. This never changes. It's going to be all real numbers. And remember, from Friday, we learned that that's how we're going to say all real numbers. The range is going to be some number to infinity. And what that K value is going to represent, that is going to represent the Y in the vertex, which we'll practice finding together in a second. Now, the other type of parabola we can have, what's the opposite of a smile? A frown would be this. And it flips to a frown when A is negative. I always like to say A is the attitude. If it has a negative attitude, it's a frown. If it has a positive attitude, it is a smile. What's the opposite of the lowest point? The maximum point or the highest point. Just like before, the domain doesn't change. But because this one is upside down, our range is going to change. That's going to be my range. So let's talk about what K is. So this is my point right here. That's my vertex. That's X and Y. Whatever your Y value is, that's the number we're going to use for K. So we're going to do one question together. And I always pick a question because we're going to work through, we pretty much are working through the homework together. So when it's due, it should be done because you should be able to finish the whole thing in class. Okay. All right, so let's go to page 5 and let's work through a question together. First thing first, we have A. I'm going to go ahead and list that off to the side. So A is 1, B is -4, and C is 3. Now, because A is positive, I know that this graph is going to be a smile, which means it's going to have a minimum point. All right, so we're going to start by finding the axis of symmetry. So this is the formula that we're going to use. X equals opposite of B over 2A. All right, so B is -4. What do you think the opposite of -4 would be? +4. Good job. That's divided by 2 times A, which is 2 times 1. So 4 divided by 2 times 1. Go ahead and figure out what you get. 4 divided by 2 times 1. You should get 2. So that means for axis of symmetry, I want you to write X equals 2. All right, now we need to find the Y value. In order to find the Y value, so let's start our vertex. So our vertex, we know half of it is 2. So whatever you get here is also going to be the X value of the vertex, which is going to be our lowest point. So now we need to find the Y value. And in order to find the Y value, I'm just using this equation right here. So it would be, so I'm going to do parentheses squared. So I'm just rewriting that quadratic. This is my quadratic right here. And instead of X, I put parentheses. I want you all to use your calculator and type in a 2. Because remember, that's my axis of symmetry. That's what I got. So everybody with your calculator, I want you to type in 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 3. All right, what did you all get? What did the calculator tell you? -1, raise your hand if you got -1. All right, so that means that that's the lowest point on my graph. The lowest point on this graph is 2, -1. So let's put that in the middle. 2, -1. This is my vertex. Now, it doesn't ask you for this in the notes. I need to fix it for the notes. So I'm actually going to put that point on my graph. Let's go ahead and put a point at 2, -1. So 2, -1 would be right here. Let's go ahead and plot that. So I need to adjust the notes for next year. But what is the y-intercept? One of these here will tell you the y-intercept. Which one of these is the y-intercept? C. So I'm going to actually, can you all, I don't know if you all have some space, but try to squeeze it in somewhere. I'm going to write it at the bottom. Y-intercept. So the y-intercept is at 0, 3. Let's go ahead and plot that point too. So we got 2 points already. Okay, so this is the hard part. This is my second integrated class of the day. So the hardest part for first period was figuring out what numbers to use, the other numbers that we need to use in our table. Okay, so if you look back at the number line, what two numbers are on the left? So if you count backwards, in other words, let's do it a different way. Count back. So 2, 1, and 0. So let's go ahead and put that in our table. Now count up. 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're just using our equation. And then remember, this is our only question today. So stay with me. And we already kind of know the first one, but you're going to fill in the rest of these numbers. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to use your calculator and find the other 4 numbers. So the first time you're going to put in 0, see what you get. Then you're going to put in a 1. Then you're going to put in 3. And then you're going to put in 4. So everybody pick up your calculators, type it in to get your 4 values. Yep, so you're going to type it in. So put the 0. Zeros go in this, and then 1s go in there. And then these got 3s. And I got 4s. Now go ahead and type them in so you can get the other numbers. No squared. So it's just 0. Yep, now just hit plus. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, so start typing them in. It's taking us a long time to get these numbers. You need help typing it in? No. Okay. I ain't found one number yet. Okay. Redo this one. Type that one in again. Oh, okay. Compare your answers with the person next to you to see if you're getting the same numbers. Now, the thing about this, which is good, is if you do it correctly, this is how you can easily check. Whatever you put here should be the same number here. If those two numbers are different, then you messed up something. And then whatever you put here should be the same number here. Because remember, that is like it's like a mirror. So you should have gotten 3 for these 2 spots. Who got 3 for those 2? And then I think it's 0. Is that what you all got? All right, so let's go ahead and fill in the ones we don't have. So we already have a point at 0, 3. Now let's put a point at 1, 0. That would be here. We already have the 2, -1 there. Now let's put a point at 3, 0. And we have a point at 4, 3. And it should look like a smile. You should have 3 little points that looks like a little baby smile, which is what we predicted it would be at the beginning. We said that this graph would be a smile. So when you connect it, it should look like this. And we're gonna put arrows because this graph keeps going up. It never stops rising. Okay, so the domain never changes. What did I say the domain would always be? Forever and ever and always. All real numbers. So we're going to say -infinity to infinity. Now, I'm going to zoom in really closely here. This is my vertex right there. What's the y value of that red dot? Nope, the y value, not the x. What's the y value where I put that red dot? -1. So my range is going to be -1 because that's the lowest it goes, all the way up to infinity forever. That is your final answer. All right, do not put away the notes even though we're done because we're going to start homework now. Now, on the homework, can you write on there that this homework is due on Thursday? So homework that you picked up right in the front of the room, you should have a document that says homework 1. That is due on Thursday.